Hey folks, welcome to part 6 of Java series. In this video, we will discuss different types or data types in Java. First of all, whenever we want to store any variable, as we discussed in the previous video, we have to have a data type defined for each of the variable. Let's see in this video how does it work. Basically, in data type, there are two different types of data types. One is primitive data type and another is non-primitive data type. Basically, whenever we store any variable, it creates a memory location, right? And prior to that, how the computer will get to know what type of variable we are storing. So that is what the question mark is. So to make the system to understand that, we will have to define the data type before that. After that, we can assign a value to that. If you just remember the syntax of how we declared a variable, first we defined the data type. After that, we declared the the variable name, and then we assigned a value to it. So in the same way, data type is much more important to store any value. So, considering that primitive data type, there are 8 different types of data types, namely int, float, character, boolean, byte, short, long, double. So, what happens is with the byte, it can store 1 byte of memory. It can store up to 1 byte, which is nothing but minus 128 to plus 127. So, this is the value you can hold. If you try to give byte value more than this value, it will throw an error. Okay. In the same way, short, it can store 2 bytes, which is equal to this value, minus 32,768 to plus 32,767. And also int can store up to 4 bytes, long can store up to 8 bytes, which is the value of this, and float also can store 4 bytes, double and boolean character, it can store 1 byte, this can store 8 bytes, and this can store 2 bytes. So what happens is byte, short, int, long, so these all values can store the decimal values, whereas float can store the fractional values and double can store the fractional values. And whenever you say it holds 4 bytes on and 8 bytes, this can float can actually hold up to 5 to 6 decimal digits. Okay, whereas double can hold 15 to 16 decimal digits. Up to that it is capable of holding. Okay. And this is how we will define. So let's see in practical how does it work. So here we have already written a program, or just defined a variable. Int is, it can store a decimal digit. It can store up to how many bytes of memory it can store. It can store 4 bytes of memory. So we can store like 10 4 up to 4 bytes, however how much ever is possible it can hold. And short, it can store 2 bytes. Okay, so suppose, and the value of byte is minus 128 to plus 127. Suppose if I try to store more than 2, say 139 130. Yes, it showed an error saying that this cannot, there is a mismatch and cannot convert into byte because it can hold only up to 127, but we have defined it 138. So we can hold, it can hold up to that much. So we can define some byte value. And then long. So long can also hold a value up to the specified value, and also it ends with L. So this L represents it is an long value. Float. So as I said, float and double both can hold the decimal or fractional values, right? So it is holding a fractional value point here. And this also can hold more than float, double can hold more than what float holds, because the byte, this can hold 4 byte, double can hold 8 bytes of memory. Boolean is just like true or false. Suppose if I want some of the flag to be defined as true, at that time we can use such data type. So in that case we can use either true or false. Character. So character must be enclosed in a single quote, and it can be only a single character. It can be an ASCII character. If you see, it stores single character or letter or ASCII values it can hold. So this is what we learned, and these are all we can print. But before that, let's see about non-primitive data types. There are different types of non-primitive data types, like string, arrays, objects. These are all the non-primitive data types because a class will be defined for each of them. In case of string, in java.lang.string it will be defined. So that is the reason. Even if you notice here, all these are in different color, if you notice. But whereas this non-primitive data type, I have defined string, this is in different uh, color because a class will be created for this particular value. So as I mentioned, it is defined in java.lang.string. So it just if you hover over it, just says a description of it. This string represents the character of strings, or it is actually a collection of characters. All string literals in Java programs such as ABC are implemented as instance of this class. So while you are writing any string, it must be enclosed in double quotes. Okay. So let us run this. Let us print all this value. Okay. So we got the output. It printed the integer value 10 and then short value 2. Whatever we have defined, it got printed. And string also, if you see, we have defined it in double quote, but whereas it here it printed in normal text like format. So this is all we learned in this data types. We covered primitive data types and non-primitive data types, and what is the difference between primitive and non-primitive data types, and also how much value primitive data types can hold. So this is all about Java data types. In the coming video we will learn about the operators. So thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.